can't bear your hypocritical actions any longer. After Wen Niannian married Gu Yansheng for 3 years, this is the sentence that he heard the most. Ever since their wedding, the moment when Gu Yansheng poured wine on his head in front of everyone there, he realized that he could no longer stand it any longer. Sign the divorce agreement and be gone! However, just months after they divorced, Gu Yansheng, along with some bodyguards, came rushing into his room. Niannian, you're the best. Let's not mess around and go home with me, alright? President Gu, have you forgotten that we are already divorced? Then we can remarry again, but this time, I'll chase after you. Gu Yansheng, he thought, is there such a good thing in the world? Have you considered my feelings? Black Lotus, or 我是黑莲花, is a novel by author 北醉时余 with 265 chapters. This is the author's only work, which is a blessing to us all because this is one of the worst Danmeis I've ever read. It's not just me who thinks so, just look at the reviews! You have to wonder how a novel with such an overwhelming negative response gets a manhwa adaptation. As per the community poll I put out, you have all forced me to read this dumpster fire of a story. However, since the manhwa adaptation is already completed, I decided to read the manhwa instead of the novel, for I still value my own sanity. But fear not, from the novel reviews I've read, I don't think I will be missing out on anything important. The main character Wen Niannian is the man married to the sorry excuse for a human being Gu Yansheng. And in my notes, these are the adjectives I would use to describe him from my first impressions. Spineless, a doormat, stupid, blind. Not off to a great start. To give some background, Wen Niannian fell in love with Gu Yansheng after he saved him from bullies in his childhood, and eventually got in a contractual marriage with him for 3 years. What's revealed is that in this marriage, Gu Yansheng has been abusing Wen Niannian for 3 years, from physical to psychological to emotional abuse. Why? Because Gu Yansheng is in love with someone else. You see, Gu Yansheng is convinced that his current side chick, Shen Luo'an, is the boy who saved him from a kidnapping when he was a child, and that Wen Niannian is a liar, or the name of the book, a Black Lotus, trying to replace Shen Luo'an. When in reality, Wen Niannian was the one who actually saved him back then, and Shen Luo'an is the liar. The reason Wen Niannian is putting up with this misunderstanding, aside from being blindly in love? Well, he says he's staying in this marriage because he doesn't want the side chick to achieve his goal of marrying into the Gu family and taking advantage of them. But at this point, does it matter anymore? Gu Yansheng has been and will keep abusing you until you leave this relationship. He sees you as an obstacle to his happiness. Wake up, Wen Niannian! You shouldn't be caring for the state of your abuser! Even after 3 years of experiencing the same misery, abuse, and humiliation, Wen Niannian is still hoping every time that Gu Yansheng will have some miraculous change of heart when he never will. Another reason, which is a bit more reasonable for not leaving this marriage, is because Gu Yansheng's mother subtly threatened him that if he divorces Gu Yansheng, his father's business cooperation with the Gu family will end, further complicating this matter. Fortunately, Wen Niannian does come around to divorcing Gu Yansheng regardless of these threats. I guess it takes a life-and-death experience to make you realize your situation. I have to say, the scene when Niannian realizes no one's gonna save him and fully blackens is done really well. It was such a satisfying moment to watch him finally stick it to Gu Yansheng about all the bullshit he had to endure these years with him. At that point, Wen Niannian had gone almost insane and was even willing to use suicide to leave this marriage. After leaving Gu Yansheng, Wen Niannian became quite a likable character. It was like the fog in front of his eyes had disappeared and he finally gained clarity. He wasn't afraid to call out Gu Yansheng's behavior of clinging on to him after he divorced him, and was firm on his decision of no longer associating with Gu Yansheng. He was happy, he was successful, he was free to do whatever he wanted. So tell me, why Wen Niannian goes back and remarries Gu Yansheng at the end of the novel? I don't care how much Gu Yansheng repents and reforms, there is no reason to forgive and get back together with your abuser. No matter how much groveling he does, you don't accept him back into your life. I'm afraid you're not just blind, Wen Niannian, but also colorblind. Wen Niannian was doing so well too. One time, he told Gu Yansheng if he could go back in time, he wouldn't save Gu Yansheng from his kidnapping. That was how cold Wen Niannian's heart was towards Gu Yansheng, basically wishing harm upon him. How do you go from that to lovingly remarrying him again? Wen Niannian has this moment where he envies sunflowers because they always stubbornly grow towards the sunlight regardless. This moment felt a little useless because in the whole manhwa, he has only described Gu Yansheng as his light once. And it was referring to the child Gu Yansheng from his childhood, not the adult Gu Yansheng. In fact, the person he described as being a light in his life in the present and has been there for him in his darkest moments is the second male lead, Tang Shuo, who he friend-zoned. The whole read-through, I couldn't see what Wen Niannian even saw in Gu Yansheng. I really was starting to like Wen Niannian. He was slowly gaining his confidence back again and finally leading the life he deserved, only to still end up with trash like Gu Yansheng in the end. Words cannot describe my hatred towards Gu Yansheng. I would crown him the biggest hypocrite male lead in Danmei history. The contradictory shit he says is infuriating. He wants to divorce Wen Niannian, and when Wen Niannian disagrees, he calls him a two-faced scheming liar. But when Wen Niannian actually agrees, he gets angry, saying that, "Can you leave as you please? Which one do you want, Gu Yansheng? Pick a lane!" He's always out to blame others before considering that maybe he's the problem. Even his side chick called him out on it. Gu Yansheng blames others for deceiving him and for hurting Wen Niannian, when really, the person that actually hurt Wen Niannian was himself. Early on, he accuses Wen Niannian of cheating with Tang Shuo, which he was not, while actually cheating in front of Wen Niannian's face the entire time. It's like he's projecting and trying to justify his cheating by saying that, "You're doing it too." The whole read-through, they keep pushing the idea that Gu Yansheng actually likes Wen Niannian deep down. It's just that he hasn't realized his feelings yet, which is just appalling. Do you hurt, abuse, and restrain the person you secretly like deep down? What kind of twisted way of showing love is this? Gu Yansheng, are you even human? You lock Wen Niannian in the basement when he suffers from PTSD. You smash his late mother's piano to pieces. You outright cheat on him in your marriage. And despite saying you don't care about Wen Niannian's life or death, you restrict the people he associates with and things he's allowed to do. After doing all that, you dare to show your face again and beg for a second chance? In the manhwa, the way he made up for destroying Wen Niannian's dead mom's piano was by getting someone to put it back together. However, apparently in the novel, the piano wasn't even salvageable, and he just bought a new one to replace it. This is one of the instances where the manhwa adaptation frames Gu Yansheng in a better light. Even the people working on the manhwa knew that buying a new piano was unforgivable. I feel that Gu Yansheng was forgiven way too easily. All he had to do was show up with a bunch of sunflowers a couple times, save Wen Niannian once, and give him an embroidery he made. That's it. I think the process was longer in the novel, but it doesn't make a difference because under no circumstances is it the right choice to return to an abusive ex. Oh, look how much Gu Yansheng suffered for Wen Niannian. He's even in the hospital. Yeah. And you know who else has been in the hospital? Wen Niannian. At least every time Gu Yansheng woke up in the hospital, Wen Niannian was there. Meanwhile, Wen Niannian has been to the hospital alone countless times for 3 years, treating bruises and mental damages that Gu Yansheng inflicted on him. You also can't say that Gu Yansheng was a victim too because he was kept in the dark about Wen Niannian's identity. You shouldn't need to know if someone is your benefactor to treat them with the most basic amount of human decency. Just because you dislike someone doesn't mean you can lay your hands on and assault someone repeatedly like this. After the divorce, he hired a private investigator and got the truth in a few days. That's how simple it was. Throughout his 3 years of marriage, if he had just a sliver of doubt about Shen Luo'an, he would have known the truth that easily, and no one would suffer. But he was always so adamant that Wen Niannian was a liar, even though no one was reinforcing that idea. Gu Yansheng is not in love with anyone. He's just in love with the image of a savior from his past. As soon as he knew that Shen Luo'an wasn't the one who saved him back then, and that it was Wen Niannian all along, he dumped him in an instant and went to chase after Wen Niannian. Is that not proof enough? There are so many side characters in this novel, and every single one of them has their own CP. Excluding the main couple, there are 4 other side couples. The character I want to focus on is Tang Shuo. Tang Shuo is the second male lead and the only light in this godforsaken novel. He was devoted to Wen Niannian from day one. Since returning from abroad, he has been by Wen Niannian's side through all the bright and dark moments. When Wen Niannian was threatening suicide, he was there to convince him to drop the knife. When Wen Niannian was recovering in the hospital from his broken legs, Tang Shuo accompanied him all the way. He respected Wen Niannian's boundaries and didn't push to be more than friends. It was impossible for Tang Shuo to stop liking Wen Niannian without being OOC. So what did the author do? Apparently in the novel, Tang Shuo got drugged and he lost his memory, becoming mentally disabled. The author discarded the only light in this novel, just like that, in favor of the human garbage, Gu Yansheng. Don't read this. This novel has no redeeming qualities. For the people who rated this novel a 5-star, I only have one question for you. Are you okay? I feel bad for the artist who had to draw this manhwa, the translator of this novel, and the reader who actually read the novel expecting retribution against Gu Yansheng.